Great to be with you today. I may have met some of you before because I recognise a few faces, and I have spoken at a Creation Care Network gathering last year. There's a bit of an update from then, and letting you know where we have got to since then. And it would be great to hear from you um, what your churches are doing and whether there's any updates that you can share as well. I'll just share my screen, and I've prepared a few slides. So, yes, as I say, today's thinking about making our money work for God's creation. And for those of you who haven't heard of Operation Noah before, we're a Christian charity and we work with the church to inspire greater action on the climate crisis. And we were set up, well, we were just having a conversation about this actually this week because we've unearthed a document that said that we might have been set up earlier than we thought we had. But I think we became a charity in 2004. And I think for a few years before that, we were a project of the Churches Together in Britain and Ireland and Christian Ecology Link, which is now Green Christian. And we were set up to try and support all Christian denominations and support interfaith work on climate change and thinking about how together we can take stronger action, both in getting our own houses in order and influencing wider change in society. And so we've had a really successful fossil fuel divestment campaign for a number of years, which has seen almost all denominations and churches in the UK divest their money from fossil fuels and their investments, which has been great. And now we're focusing more on how we can care for God's creation through all that we've been blessed with as churches, both in terms of our finances and the land that we own. And I will just be talking this morning about our finances. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the Big Bank Switch campaign. So this is something that we set up with a group of different charities a couple of years ago, thinking about where we bank as Christians and how we see that as part of our care for creation. So we're calling on thousands of Christians to switch to a greener bank to align our money with our values and move millions of pounds out of fossil fuel support. And this is really timely at the moment, actually, because there's such a thing called the Banking on Climate Chaos report, and you may have seen this reported in the news because it just came out the week before last, and it highlights how banks, not globally, not just in the UK, are contributing to and funding the climate crisis, and recognizing that global overheating isn't just happening, it's being funded, it's being supported with trillions of dollars. And according to this year's report, the world's largest bank have actually increased their financing to the fossil fuel industry last year, and it's up 8% on the previous year. So which is completely counter to where we need to be going. We need to be urgently and dramatically reducing support for fossil fuel extraction and moving swiftly as we can to renewables, as we all know, but yet the world's largest banks are doing the opposite. And last year alone, they committed £609 billion in financing to the fossil fuel industry. And so, yeah, so we just need to, as consumers, do all we can to make the right choice about where we put our money and speak up about it to try and influence others to move their money out of fossil fuel financing, and to tell the banks why we're moving and why we're switching. Oh, so I've just I've said a little bit about this already. So it says here that the world's 65 biggest banks have committed almost 8 trillion. And actually, this is last year's figure, so it might be even more than that, US dollars in fossil fuel financing since 2016. And that includes expansion, so new oil and gas wells and pipelines, which we have agreed as a nation and through the Paris Agreement as the world that we cannot be expanding fossil fuel extraction. And as well as that, banks are also involved in financing companies that are involved in mass deforestation and plastic pollution as well. So why does our banking matter? Well, I mean, from what we've been saying, it's obvious, isn't it? There's evidence that many of the world's biggest banks are not acting for the common good. And Psalm 24 talks about the earth being the Lord's and everything in it. And the Bible is full of that kind of sense of us being stewards of God's creation and being commissioned and called to care for it. And I like this quote from Walter Brueggemann that talks about how money and possessions belong to God and are held in trust by human persons in community. We don't own anything really, do we? We're sort of holding all of God's possessions in trust, and therefore they must be managed in the practice of justice. And I think that that's why this campaign is focusing particularly on speaking up as Christians and trying to influence our wider society to switch banks as well. And yeah, here Laudato Si quote saying that changing how our money is used can be one of the most powerful ways on influencing climate action and policy. So what can we do about it? Well, firstly, check who your current bank is. If it's one of the sort of big five banks in the UK, then it's likely to still be financing fossil fuel extraction. And in fact, the UK banks are not getting better on this front, they're getting worse. And a number of banks have pulled out of alliances over the last 12 months that have committed them to sort of towards net zero, and are sort of backtracking on that. So yes, so check who your bank is, and then make a pledge to switch banks. And oh, I've just seemed to have lost my. Oh, hold on a minute. It's saying click to exit full screen. I didn't want to exit full screen. Let me try and put that back up for you. There we go. And then, yeah, like I say, crucially, tell your bank why you're leaving. And there's a URL here, but I'll also send it around afterwards. Hopefully, Sharon, you can share some information. And it will it has a template letter that you can use to tell your old bank why you're leaving. And I did this a couple of years ago, and it was so easy because there's this current account pledge that it means that the banks have to do it all for you. So you just have to notify them and set up a new account, and it all gets switched over. All your direct debits and all of your payments kind of automatically move across. So it's not an administrative burden on you. It's just it's a simple exercise. So yeah, do consider doing that. My screen has stopped being full screen, so hopefully you can still see see the slides. I'll just move through them this way. So yes, there'll be a chance for some questions at the end, but does anyone have any questions about the Big Bank Switch campaign and how that might work? I can't see you guys anymore, so you might just need to speak up if you do. No. Okay, great. Well,
sorry, do you know if the with for our church, our sort of deposit account is with the CBF fund. Do you know if that's environmentally sound?
oh well, that's going to be the second thing I talk about actually, is around church investments that are held through the CBF and other places as well,
Okay.
and what we might do about encouraging that money to have more of a climate impact.
Thanks.
Yes, and there is a question as well about how accessible some of the um, fossil-free bank accounts are for churches, because I think that there have been some questions raised before about church bank accounts needing to have additional features that sometimes that so far haven't been available through the co-op. But there are others like CAF Bank that you can use the post office to bank through, that do offer kind of church banking services. So it's worth having a look at the Just Money Movement's Greener Fairer Banking Guide, because it sort of talks you through how churches can think about their bank accounts as well, whereas the Big Bank Switch is largely focused on Christians, individuals.
Thank you.
So yes, the second thing I wanted to just mention was the Green Investment Declaration, and you've preempted me because that is the campaign around church institutions finance. So churches have a significant amount of money. I think that there's across sort of 26 countries that were surveyed to try and work out exactly how much churches have. Collectively, they have £260 billion in investments, which is a huge amount. And we think probably about 10% of that, or maybe more, maybe up to sort of 15% is in the UK. And the UK is fifth on the list of those 26 countries in terms of wealth, historical wealth of our church denominations and our religious orders as well. So we have significant amount of money held in our churches, and we know that finance is going to have to play a huge role in enabling the world to transition to net zero, but we are currently well short of this level of investment that's needed, and it's really urgent time. It is running out, as we know. So while we need a lot of public finances, we need a lot of government to invest in green transition and in climate solutions. There is also a need for private investors to demonstrate their commitment as well and invest in a greener economy. So we're calling on the church to take a lead and to, again, speak out about this. And just as many denominations chose to divest their money from fossil fuels, now I think well, I don't think I know, but we're calling on the church to act prophetically and to show this moral leadership and take positive action to invest their money into things that are going to make a difference. So there, I'm just going to show you like a 1 minute video that explains the Green Investment Declaration maybe better than I can. So I will just show it to you here.
There are many ways in which churches can.
Oh, no, sorry. It's always technical difficulties, isn't it, that causes issues on these. Sorry. Well, that video's crashed, I think. Apologies. I'll just see if I can bring it back up.
Claire, if you have a link to the video, I can add it to our newsletter.
Yeah,
so
thank you. That might be the best
everyone
thing.
Gets it. Yeah.
I won't risk crashing it again, but I'll send the link around. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. So trying to move my slides on. So this is a tool that that we launched along with the Just Money movement to enable churches to think about where their money is invested and use more of that for climate impact. So the Diocese of Truro, you were one of our first signatories, and since then we've had a number of different churches and dioceses and denominations, in fact, signing up to this commitment. And you don't need to already have it all sorted. We've kind of set the bar intentionally low at acorn level. You can come on board and say, we commit to investing in climate solutions within the next 2 to 3 years. And it gives your church an opportunity to say, well, hold on, at the moment, we have however much invested through the CBF. We're going to review that. We're going to ask CCLA what they are doing with our money and ask them to increase the climate impact that our money has through our pooled fund with lots of other churches. And we can also, if their response isn't satisfactory, consider taking a proportion out and investing it into a fund that will have more of a climate impact. So it doesn't mean that you have to immediately move 100% of your money into anything. It's all kind of taking steps in that direction, but also speaking up about it and talking about it within your deaneries and within your diocese as well to encourage others to do the same. And it all goes all the way up to Oak level, where signatories are already investing at least 5% of their assets in climate solutions, and it's sort of committing to increase that over time as well. And we have a Green Investment Roadshow going on this year, which brings together people responsible for making decisions about how your church's money is invested. So that can be church treasurers, PCC members, creation care champions like yourselves, through to sort of those on as trustees of cathedrals, diocesan trusts, other Christian charities, anybody within your area who has these responsibilities to steward your church money well, to explore these issues and also be inspired by some of the really great examples that are out there of how you can actually have a real impact with your money. So we had our first roadshow event in Bristol Cathedral last month, and it was fantastic. People were kind of coming away saying, "Well, I'm going to go and I'm going to sign up to some of these already straight away. I'm going to set up an account," because some of the presentations were talking about how the huge amount of impact a small amount of church finance can have in, say, off-grid electrification across Africa. And there were projects there, including Energize Africa and FX, the investment platform, who were speaking, kind of, a lot of their employees are Christian, and they were talking from a faith perspective about how churches can use some of their money from as little as, maybe 500, £1,000, to have a real impact and generate a return. It's not giving. It is actually an investment that you get a return on, but also can have such an amazing transformative impact around the world. So we have a session just for Truro and Exeter Diocese on the 29th of September over lunchtime. So it's a sort of short, condensed version of that roadshow for an hour and a half to think that through together and to hear from some really inspiring examples. So again, with thanks to Sharon, we'll send around the sign up for that after this. And please do share that with your networks through your deaneries and to your treasurers as well, particularly for the larger churches that might have more money sloshing around that they are kind of considering what to do with. And yeah, as I say, we've had our Bristol event, but we've got another 3 set up around the country over sort of September, October time, and hoping to just, to do the same thing really, and build this momentum of different churches who are taking this seriously. And I mean, we as churches think a lot about our buildings, don't we? And we're often eco churches. I'm sort of our eco church chair for our church as well, and a lot of that is brilliant, but it all just thinks about your particular church really. So this is a way of broadening out the impact that you can have, and really making a difference through the way that your money is managed. And I talked earlier about how churches might want to first engage with their existing investment managers, and then secondly think about perhaps moving some money. And the reason we say that is because we've had quite a bit of engagement with people like the head of sustainability for CCLA and their equivalent at Epworth and Rathbones and Saracens and all of these kind of big investment management firms. And they've said, well, actually, we're not hearing a huge amount of demand from our clients for greater climate impact of the money that they have invested with us. And I think that they shared with us that they think that it's because there are so many other concerns at the moment around sort of church money and how it's used. And until they hear from church clients that there's a demand, they don't have any incentive to change. And so at the moment they have quite a small proportion, maybe very small amount that they're investing through into things like renewables projects. But if they hear from their clients that they want to invest more and that they want it to be a more direct impact rather than just buying stocks and shares on secondary markets, then they will have more of an incentive to provide something. So that's the first avenue really, is to do that. And we've created this letter, which is a template letter that you can adapt and send out as a church. You can, and I know that as a diocese, it's something that the Diocesan Finance Committee of Truro are thinking about and engaging with the investment managers with as well. But it's definitely something that we want to get a big groundswell of churches asking their the CCLA and others to think about. Otherwise, yeah, as I say, nothing will change. So I think that's me. Sorry, I've gone a couple of minutes over my allotted time. But to recap, the 3 things that it'd be great for you to go away and think about is, firstly, switching to a fossil-free bank. Secondly, asking your church to sign the Green Investment Declaration and write to your investment managers. And thirdly, join that webinar on the 29th of September and find out more and be inspired about what more you can do. So I think I'll stop there, and I can share these slides afterwards if that would be helpful to circulate around.
Thank you very much, Claire, much appreciated. Could you all join me first in a round of applause for Claire for joining us on this hot morning? Thank you so much. Were there any questions for Claire? Chris Phillips.
Roughly how many banks are there that do green investment?
Well, I think so in terms of well, so do you mean for current accounts or in
Yes.
general? Because there's there in the Green Affairs Banking Guide, it ranks them, and there are banks like CAF Bank and Triodos and the Co-op. And there's also building societies that don't have fossil fuel investments, like Nationwide and other local building societies. So they're the best bet, and they're all sort of listed through the banking guide. So it's worth taking a look at that. I think where there have been some complications has been around having sort of deposit accounts for charities with all of those, and I think some still aren't in a position of providing that. So we had Triodos speaking actually at our Green Investment Roadshow in Bristol, because they're a Bristol-based bank, and they were saying we really want to, and we are working very hard to provide a church and charity bank account, but we don't have one yet. Because they just I think that it's just the cost of running it as a small bank. But they're hoping as they grow to be able to grow the number of products they offer, and that would be one of them. And so I think that there will be hopefully more and more coming on the market. But currently, the Green Affairs Banking Guide is the place to look.
Lovely, thank you.
I'll add a link to the Green Affairs Banking Guide into the newsletter.
Great.
If you have a link to that, Claire, and can send it to me, that would be
I'll ping it over to you after this.
help.
Yeah. I should have everything all set up to just put into the chat, but I don't have all the URLs on my fingertips, so sorry.
No, it's fine. Rosie and I send out a newsletter in a couple of weeks, and we can put a link to the film, a link to Operation Noah, a link to the webinar, a link to the banking guide. Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions,
I'd be really interested to hear if because I know that we spoke about a lot of this stuff. I think it was like February last year, so almost a year and a half ago. And I just wondered, do you guys have any sort of feedback or any updates to share about whether you've had a chance to talk to your churches about this, or have had a chance to think about your own banking? And yeah, it'd be great to hear if there are any updates.